Hello friends, today we're going to be going over my annual wrap-up. I am not going to go into every book here because there's many. I think it was like 150-ish books that I've read so far, and I still have 2 weeks left in December, so somewhere around that number. I'm not going to go into all of them because it would take way too long. But I am going to kind of go over the ones I've read in December and kind of give you highlights and some goals for my channel and for my reading in general next year. So let's just dive right into it. So as of right now, Goodreads says that I've read 152 books. I want you to keep in mind that more than 50% of these are manga or graphic novels, comics, whatever. Okay, so I think the last time I updated my last wrap up, I had mentioned I'd read Love Theoretically, or I was probably like in the middle of it. So I'm just gonna start there. So for Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, I gave it 3 stars. It was just okay. There were some things about it, and I may have mentioned this in a recent video, that kind of annoyed me a little bit. Aside from the mention how big and tall he is, I feel like I kind of just expect that at this point with Ali Hazelwood. I wasn't expecting a whole lot from this because it was just another STEM romance, and I tend to like the characters, but the plot is kind of whatever. It had STEM stuff in it, but the main focus of the plot really wasn't that. It was like her fake dating thing, her side hustle. I liked the characters, but at least in the first half of the book, there was a lot of use of big scientific words just to kind of, I'm assuming, make you feel immersed in the STEM theme, but it was kind of annoying, to be honest with you. So that was the main thing, and it was okay. Nothing crazy good, but I will continue probably to read her books just because they're a good time. I had started Kaiju number 8 back in, I think, November. I read 2 through 8, so pretty much everything the library has at this point. I rated them various things depending on the volume, but I'm just going to say overall a 3.5, a 4-star. It's pretty good. It's toward volume 6 through 8. It's a little bit monologue heavy. I feel not a whole lot is happening. There is some stuff that happens, but it's really done and over pretty fast. But apparently, according to my husband, who is way far ahead than I am in the manga, it does get more interesting. It gets more action-packed, so I'm going to continue reading it for now. I'm going to continue getting it from the library. And then I did read Godkiller by Hannah Kanner, and I gave it 5 stars. Now, this took me so long to get through. I don't know why. I read Iron Flame, that's why. So Iron Flame kind of interrupted me reading this, and then I had to kind of get back into it, and I was only I don't know, 15% of the way in when I put it down to read Iron Flame. So, but I did like it. The blurb on the back is very on the nose. It mentions if you like Gideon the Ninth, if you like the Locked Tomb series. It's very campy. The characters definitely give me Gideon vibes. Whatever her name was in this one, starts with an S. I can't remember, but definitely has campy, found family, very short, pretty fast-paced. I really like the whole gods thing that's going on in this book, and I'm really excited. I ordered the Illumicrate special edition for the next book, so very excited to get that. I did read, what is this? Villains Are Destined to Die, number 5, obviously. I gave it 5 stars. This continues to be wonderful. And my recent obsession, oh my god, is My Happy Marriage. I read the manga. I read 1 through 4. That's pretty much all that's out in English right now. And I've also watched the first season of the anime on Netflix, and I am obsessed. And when I tell you, I had the first 2 of these, and I was like, I'm just gonna get to them whenever. I read the first one, and I next day went out and bought the other 2 that I was missing because I was like, I'm gonna have to binge read this. So obviously those got 5 stars. I'm very excited to continue this series. It really surprised me. I thought it was gonna be more of just romance, historical romance type of thing, but it has kind of supernatural fantasy elements to it, and it's the perfect mix. And it's very rare that a manga or an anime makes me tear up, but I feel so bad for the main character and how her family treats her. Getting into another book that I did read, I got this one from the library, and it was Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates. I unfortunately gave this one 2 stars. Look, I'm trying to branch out into more like thrillers. I should have realized, I guess this is kind of my fault, that this was more horror than it was thriller, first of all. Second of all, within like not even 50% of the way into the book, there is a big like thing that happens. They find somebody's body, and the circumstances and the condition in which they find the body pretty much gave away who the killer was for me. So I feel like some people that like this might have overlooked that and kind of just been like, whatever. I did see a lot of reviews saying like, if you're a quote unquote close reader, you're going to catch it, and it's going to pretty much, you're going to know. And then I don't know, all that anticipation was gone. I skim read to the end and realized I was correct and got mad. So it was a little too obvious to me. And I've heard this author has a lot of other good books, so I might give them one more try, because I hear normally there's like some type of paranormal element to their story. So maybe I'll try a different one, but this one, not it for me. The writing itself though was pretty atmospheric. The characters were okay. Like some of them were a little like 2-dimensional, whatever, but for the most part, the writing was okay. It was just not, I need a little bit more of a twist than that. And I did pick up another, I think this is a manhwa. Again, it's a color manga, so it's like either a webtoon printed or manhwa, I don't know. But this is Why Ray Liana Ended Up at the Duke's Manor. And I read 1 and 2 from the library, and I gave them 3.5, 4 stars. Number 2 was a little bit more interesting than number 1, but that's to be expected. I'm going to continue reading this one. I want to see if it gets any more interesting. If not, whatever. So this one's very similar to Villains Are Destined to Die. It's an isekai, so she's like transported to another world. In this case, it's not a game, it's a novel, and she already has read the novel in her previous life, and knows kind of how it goes, so she's using that to her advantage. Okay, and then so far I've read 2 more books in December. I read Divine Rivals. I gave it 5 stars. I read this because my coworker was reading it while I was reading Iron Flame, and she loved it. She listened to the audiobook. So I was like, I have to pick that up sooner rather than later. So I did. Really loved it. Very excited for the sequel, which I will be getting through the library. I'm battling my coworker for it at this point. I'm really excited to read the sequel in physical format, because I hear that there's some element of like, they kind of make the letters look aesthetic, and we ended on a huge cliffhanger and very sad point in the first book. So the ending just devastated me. Not how I expected that to be going. I am emotionally devastated after the first book. Very excited to read the second one. I'm gonna like get it on hold from the library and read it right away. And then most recently I read Trick Shot. This has been going viral, especially on the Facebook groups. It's a smutty Christmas novella, basically. And it's a why choose threesome type situation. It was okay. I gave it 3 stars. It's just all right. I realized that I require a bit more plot than this book gave me in order to be completely satisfied. So this was like 90% smut, and like 10% plot. So if that ratio doesn't really cut it for you, like me, then you might not love this one as much as you thought you would. I also wasn't a fan of like the whole lying situation. Not cool. Kind of found some of the dynamic to be like mildly toxic, even though they're supposed to be like super non-toxic. Like, just take it from somebody who is polyamorous. Not a cool thing to lie about who you are. Just to hook up with somebody, not cool. So, yeah, so those are the ones I've been reading in December. I'm currently reading Assistant to the Villain. I'm loving it. I'm hoping I can get a little bit more into that. On my TBR for the rest of the month, if I can get to them. I have some time off, so I'm hoping I can. Is Desperate Measures by Katie Robert, and Ascension. I don't remember the author. It's a sci-fi novel with apparently like kind of alien vibes. And I also have, Bored to Death. And this is a board game shop themed murder mystery, very short. All of these I've gotten from the library. I'm just trying to get through these because going into next year, I have some goals in mind and I need to lay off the library books, unfortunately. Well, there's no harm. I need, you'll see. I'll tell you in a sec. So I'm just looking at my Goodreads, my 2023 year in books. So I read 152 books. That's 40,000 and some change pages. I think my goal was 120. So I did surpass it. Normally what I do for that is I set it for whatever I read, or if I didn't meet my goal, I'll like set it for the same thing. But if I surpass my goal, I usually just set it for the same thing that I read, if that makes sense, in the next year. So we'll get to that. So longest book I read was Priory of the Orange Tree. Ironically, this was the first book I read this year. And the shortest book was The Talk. This was a picture book for children. It looks like the most popular book I read, so it's the most shelved. So it's either the one people want to read the most or have read, is The Love Hypothesis. So I felt very mid about that one too. The least popular was Awaken. This is a graphic novel that I read earlier in the year, and my average rating was a 4.1. That tracks. I'm pretty loosey-goosey with my rating. I consider a 3 to be like, this was fine. Like, good. 4 is great. 5 is like one of my favorite books. I'll probably keep it for my permanent collection. 2 is like, I generally just kind of disliked this, but I didn't like vehemently hate it. 1 star or DNF is like, I fucking hated this book. So when comparing to last year, I read about the same. I read more books total, but I read about the same in terms of like the ratio of ratings. So I had about 59 5 stars this year, and last year I had 56. That's what I'm talking about. So 4 stars, 55. Last year I had 43. 3 stars, I had 18. Last year I had 14. So very similar, even DNFs. This year I DNF'd 4 so far, and last year I DNF'd 3. Very similar stats there. I did, however, read many more books. I read 118 last year. This year, 152 or so. I also wanted to talk a little bit about my goals. I don't have a whole ton in terms of my reading or my channel. In fact, I don't know that I have really any in terms of my channel other than continue to upload every week. I would like to diversify a little bit. I had originally planned on doing kind of a read-along, readathon type thing that I had created, but I ended up scrapping that for now, mostly because the participation just isn't going to be what I need it to be. I have a lot of goals in my personal life this year, but like not a whole lot in terms of my channel other than maintain the status quo here and just keep uploading once a week and keep doing what I like to do and give myself a break when I need a break, that type of stuff. But I do have some reading goals because I need them this upcoming year. So the main one is that I must read what I own. I have to. You can't really tell behind me, but these books, these shelves are packed full. And then I have 3 on the other side. I just got another one for the other side in front of me here that is almost full as well. So I need to read what I own. Ideally, I would like to get my physical TBR down 50%. I think I have somewhere between 300 and 400 books total. That's counting ones that I've read that are part of my permanent collection. But if I can read, again, this is kind of loosey-goosey, okay? If I can read 150 books like I did this year, next year, and they're all physical TBR books that I own, I can get through like half of those. I don't know if I'll unhaul all of them. In fact, that's been a pain in my ass as well because I've been reading a lot more, but I'm not unhauling all of them. So like I used to. So if I can unhaul like half of 150, like 75 or so books, I would be in really good shape. That'll free up a lot of space. I need to slow down on bringing the physical books in. I'm trying to do that. I'm not going on a book buying ban or anything like that. I tried it. I did okay this year with mostly just spending gift cards. I had a little, but I still have brought in a lot of books, and I need to get rid of some at this point, but I need to read them. I recently tried to do an unhaul, and when I sat down and really looked at the books I had, I was like, I don't really want to unhaul these because I still want to read them. So I need to read them. That's the only solution. And I need to stop being suckered in by the beautiful new books that come in at my job at the library, at least to the extent that I am reading 4 or 5 library books and not reading any off of my physical TBR, because that's not working for me. In general, 2 other goals I have are just to read more nonfiction. I have quite a bit of nonfiction, especially after VLA this year. I got a couple ARCs, mostly picked up ARCs for nonfiction, so want to read more nonfiction. I think this year I probably read like 2, maybe 3, and I would like to annotate more books, just in general, because I really enjoy it. I really enjoy going back and looking at my annotated books, and I would just like to do more of it, even if it's just like just highlighting, just tabbing. That's pretty much my wrap up for the year. I just wanted to talk about, you know, how much I read, what I read, how I felt about it. I feel like I had a pretty good reading year. Definitely the most I've ever read in a year so far. And I'm excited to see what next year brings. Like I said, I'm trying to stay focused, trying to meet some goals for my physical TBR. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you want to see more from me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.